function from quantum dynamics as our outline. So a brief introduction about our topic and goals. So we're aiming to create our own quantum-based hash function, and at the goal we want to try to implement into a real-world project. So why we choose quantum-based instead of traditional-based? We have classical hash functions, why we need quantum. So as we know that hash function is important, is crucial, play a crucial role in communication, in blockchains, or something like needs encryption or need authentications. And so we need higher security. But for a quantum state, you cannot replicate it. You can't completely replicate the state. So you can it has fundamentally higher security over classical stuff. So this is why we choose this topic. And later on we'll go through some fundamental reviews over what we have done. And so we are going to go through the fundamentals of the background reviews. So start from random walk. It's like tossing a coin to go from left to right, to decide go left or right. But if it's quantum walk, we can walk left or right simultaneously, but in probability distribution. So at last you will in classical situation you will get a path, but in quantum situation you will get a distribution of states over the graph. Yeah.
A hash function is a special method of encryption. One property is determinism. For an input message, it always returns same results. If different inputs get the same output, that's called collision. A good hash function will minimize the occurrence of collisions. Other property is sensitivity or avalanche effect. Even the slightest change in input can lead to a dramatic change in output. A quantum worker uses a coin to determine the direction of movement. In discrete time quantum hash function, a message is used to control the evolution of the quantum worker, which is performed on a graph such as a cycle or a line. And the final probability distribution of the quantum worker's position is used as the hash value. In continuous time quantum hash function, the coin gates will like that, and A is adjacency matrix of a graph, and L is the Laplacian matrix of a graph. If the graph is a line, A and L matrix is like that. The input M is M1, M2, blah blah blah, MP. And the final state is like that. UMP, blah blah blah, UM2, UM1, the initial state. And we get the probabilities. The probabilities will be transformed into a series of numbers. That's a hash value.
Okay. So this page really shows the workflow of our implementations. So first we compute the agency matrix and Laplacian matrix from a given graph G. And for the basic version of our implementation, the graph G is a simple path. And then we can construct the evolution operators according to the two matrices we just computed. And then we use the Cascades unitary gate functions to create the unitary gates corresponding to the two evolution operators. And then we can execute the continuous quantum block hash function with the AER simulators to perform the hash function. And finally, we can process the probability distribution to obtain the final hash value. And based on the basic version, we have extended to an advanced one. And instead of two evolution operators, we have four here, which is indexed from 00 to 11. And as for which one to apply on, it's depend on the sequence of the input message. Say if the input message is A, B, C, D, E, then there will be a sliding window to scan A, B, B, C, C, D, and D, E. And say if A, B is 01, then the U01 gate will be applied onto the current state. And for the subscript of A, 3 here, and we have 4 here, it stands for that the agency matrix is generated from a k-regular graph, and here case 3 and 4, and in a k-regular graph, all the vertices have a degree of 3 and 4. And this gives us a little advantage, is that for a k-bit long input message, we only need to apply k minus 1 evolution operators instead of k. Okay. As we have limited times, these are the 5 matrices that we use to evaluate our implementations. And the main thing is that the lower the local similarity is, the better the local diffusion of your hash value is. And we can skip to here. This table is the performance evaluation of both versions based on the settings on the left. And as you can see, the collision rate are always 0 for all the execution we perform. And for the omega, the local similarities, the advanced version has a little bit higher value than the basic version. However, as you can see on the figure on the left, the figure shows that the local similarity of the advanced version actually decreases as the system scales up. And as for the figures on the right, it shows that both local similarities of both versions decreases as the number of trials increase. And that's actually a pretty good phenomenon for quantum hash function.
From now, I will talk about the real-world applications for our quantum hash function. First, cryptography and communication. A Q hash can be used both in authentication and encryption, ensuring that messages are genuine and unaltered. It's also applicable in blockchain, and we tried implementing a small blockchain model using our quantum-based QSHA-256. Regarding communication systems, a secure messenger has to meet the following criteria. Because we're running short on time, I'm just going to skip this slide. We looked at 2 main options for applying Q-hash in messengers. Option 1 was to encrypt the entire message, giving both confidentiality and integrity. Here, Q-hash can be used inside encryption as an integrity tag in commitment mechanisms and with key diversification for additional security. It's good for scenarios where privacy is paramount. Am I allowed to continue or? Okay. Option 2 is integrity-only mode, where messages are not encrypted but authenticity is ensured. Here, Q-hash can replace the classical hash in MAC and HMAC, provide dual tags for verification, enhance digital signatures, and even support lightweight IoT where bandwidth is limited. We tried to make a messenger, but we failed because it was really hard to connect to their server, so I'm just going to have to skip that part too. So instead, I brought here a mini demo in which if you input 2 different words, it's just going to show a totally different hash, and it just shows us that our Q-hash works fine. Lastly, regarding future works, we would like to explore further on adapting our QSHA-256 closer to the classical one for broader compatibility. As shown in the table, our approach did show 0% collision rate, but other values slightly differ from both the ideal and classical values. Also, we still need to research on resistance against both classical and quantum hidden attacks. Lastly, we're interested in modifying the underlying walking graphs, since performance and collision rates would vary depending on the graphs. That was our quick overview. We'd like to emphasize that quantum hashing isn't just something theoretical, but can be embedded into various fields in the real world in the near future. It's something worth a dedication. Thank you.
Any question? Okay.
So as you mentioned blockchain, I'm just curious, the throughput of this QSHA 256. So the computation speed for these hashes, how long does it take? Pardon? You mean how long will it take to compute that?
Compute each hash.
For a matrices of n times n, for like n is like 16, and the input message is like 12 bit long, it takes like roughly 30 minutes to simulate on a simulator.
On simulator.
Yeah, we did it on a simulator.
Okay, because blockchain software throughput, so it should be fast. So I was just curious how it could be completed in any time. That was my question. Thank you.
You have further question? You have further question?
No, okay. Just for my curiosity. Okay.
I guess the question is if you have looked at what would be the circuit depth for the given size.
As we mentioned, we use the unitary gate function, which we transform a unitary matrix to quantum gates, which is a built-in function from Qiskit. So I'm not sure whether we can actually calculate the complexity of the quantum circuit after the transformation.
Have you tried transpiling it for a backend? When you did on your simulator, did you transpile it for a real backend?
On a real package?
So did you just compile the circuit for a real system at least?
Real machine.
Oh, didn't use
We simulated on our local edge.
local area
Yeah.
with no compilation then. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe let's test the Bruce